Imagine opening a pantry and finding food that's been sitting there for years, sometimes decades. And instead of being moldy or toxic, it's actually more valuable than when it was new. Aged cheese, cured meats, fermented sauces, even century-old vinegars are still edible, sometimes even prized. We're taught that food spoils quickly, leave leftovers out too long, and they become dangerous. So how can something like cheese, soy sauce, or cured ham survive years or even generations without turning into a biological hazard? Today, let's break down. Why doesn't aged food go bad? What it actually means, why it works, and more importantly, when is aged food genuinely safe to eat? And when is it just a gamble? Let's get into it, right here, on History of Simple Things. First, an important distinction. Aged food is not forgotten food. There's a massive difference between food that's intentionally aged and food that's simply been sitting around. Aging is a controlled process. It involves carefully managing temperature, moisture, oxygen, microbes, and time. Spoilage, on the other hand, is chaos. Think of it this way. Aging is like training an animal. Spoilage is letting it run wild. When food is aged, conditions are intentionally set so good microbes win and bad microbes lose. When food is neglected, anything can grow, and usually does. To understand why aged food survives, we need to understand what causes food to spoil in the first place. There are three main enemies of food: bacteria and molds. Some are harmless or even helpful. Others produce toxins that make us sick. Moisture. Water allows microbes to multiply rapidly. Oxygen. Many spoilage organisms need oxygen to survive. If you can control or eliminate even one of these factors, food lasts longer. Control all three. And suddenly time becomes less threatening. This is where aging techniques come in. Aged foods rely on a few powerful preservation strategies, often working together. 1. Salt. Nature's microbial kill switch. Salt draws water out of food and microbes through osmosis. Without water, bacteria struggle to survive. That's why cured meats, salted fish, and aged cheeses can last so long. 2. Acidity. Making food hostile. Lowering pH creates an environment where dangerous bacteria can't grow. Vinegar, fermented foods, and aged sauces thrive on acidity. Many pathogens simply can't survive there. 3. Fermentation. Controlled microbial takeover. Fermentation doesn't eliminate microbes. It chooses which ones are allowed to live. Beneficial bacteria consume sugars and produce acids, alcohol, or gases that crowd out harmful organisms. This is why yogurt, kimchi, miso, and soy sauce become safer over time instead of more dangerous. 4. Drying. Removing the one thing bacteria need without moisture. Microbes can't multiply. Dry-aged meats, hard cheeses, and air-dried foods rely on dehydration as a long-term defense. Aged food survives because it becomes an environment that bad microbes hate. Here's the counterintuitive part. Aging doesn't just preserve food, it transforms it. Proteins break down into amino acids, creating savory umami flavors. Fats slowly oxidize in controlled ways, adding complexity instead of rancidity. Sugars ferment into acids or alcohols that deepen taste. This is why aged Parmesan tastes richer than fresh cheese. Why dry-aged beef tastes nuttier and more intense. Why long-fermented soy sauce develops layers of flavor that quick versions never achieve. Spoilage destroys structure. Aging refines it. Some foods are practically designed to survive time. Hard cheeses like Parmesan or Pecorino can last years if kept dry and cool. Fermented sauces like soy sauce, fish sauce, and miso can remain safe for decades unopened. Honey famously never spoils. It's low moisture, acidic, and antibacterial by nature. Vinegar becomes more stable with age. And dry-cured meats like prosciutto or Jamin rely on salt, drying, and time working together. In many of these cases, age isn't a risk. It's the point. Not all foods are meant to age. Foods that are high in moisture, low in salt, and low in acidity are the most dangerous over time. Cooked rice, soft leftovers, dairy products without fermentation, these spoil fast and can become unsafe even before they smell bad. And here's a critical rule. If aging was not intentional from the beginning, it's probably not aging, it's rotting. Random mold growth, slimy textures, sour smells in non-fermented foods, these are warning signs, not flavor development. A dangerous misconception is that spoiled food will always smell bad. Some of the most dangerous toxins, like those produced by botulism, are odorless, tasteless, and invisible. Just because something doesn't smell awful doesn't mean it's safe. Aged foods are safe not because they pass a smell test, but because the environment was controlled from day one. Long before refrigerators, humans had one big problem. Food didn't last. Aging, curing, and fermenting weren't culinary experiments. They were survival strategies. Entire cultures formed around techniques that made food safer over time instead of more dangerous. What started as preservation eventually became preference. People didn't just tolerate aged food, they began to crave it. So why doesn't aged food go bad? Because it's not fighting time, it's controlling biology. When moisture is managed, microbes are chosen, and conditions are stable, food doesn't rot. It evolves. Aging is slow, intentional change. Spoilage is uncontrolled collapse. And when it comes to safety, age alone tells you nothing. Design does. So the next time you hear about food that's been aged for years, don't ask, is that still edible? Ask, was this food ever supposed to age in the first place? Because when food is aged properly, time doesn't ruin it. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.